All right, the clock's there. Let's get started. Welcome you all to last day of Microsoft Ignite 2019. Although there are some other Microsoft Ignites being held, it's called Microsoft Ignite the Tour. Hopefully, you'll recognize me as Alex. It's supposed to be the name on the screen, so assume that's me. So, what's in it for you? Since that slide set is going to be shared for you on my blog, so what's in it for me, you're going to say? There's a lot of cool things that have been built into Windows 10 over the couple of years that people don't tend to figure out, and some of them don't know that they really exist there. And that's some of the cool Windows 10 tips and tricks that I'm hopefully going to show you. Preferably a new way of thinking mobility. We tend to hassle our users way too much just to give ourselves a little too much control. And hopefully, you're going to have a rethinking of your existing structure as well. To provide you a case, I was hired by a company that have employees on 5 different continents. They're across all time zones there is. They have multiple cultures, so if someone says that, I would like you to give me a device and it should just work, some other cultures say, you're not going to touch my iPhone. No, it's not going to happen. So culture varies. We also have a hiccup on the language side, where we speak officially English, Norwegian, and Portuguese. So it's a cross-cultural, cross-languageal barrier. And just to spice it up a little bit, I mentioned 5 continents, but we also have 80 floating continents as well, 80 vessels. So we really needed to rethink mobility to solve the problem. So what's better than to start off with a chess play? And the winner takes it all, right? We all know that. So they came out and said, hey, we want Windows 10. We're currently on Windows 7. We want Windows 10, but we want it to be locked down, non-admin, group policies on everything. We want to have full control of absolutely everything that happens on this device. And we said, no, it's not going to happen. You're traveling way too much, and we really recommend you to see some of the new features that's out there. And for the features that have been announced now, even Azure Active Directory Free gives you multi-factor authentication from the app. So you can see that security is being leveraged up as well. They have config manager on those AT vessels. So upgrading those would take some time because they need to reclassify and dock. So the turnover to do the upgrade would just be way too time consuming. So we're looking deep into Intune and Windows Autopilot. We also saw that they were having major experience issues because of latency when they were traveling, because the home folder were either placed in Houston while they were traveling to Singapore. So the synchronization of home folders were kind of sketchy. And of course, the remote support. How do you deal with remote support in a mobile-first world? So first of all, I just wanted to introduce you to the security aspect and how the user really love the new security features. You never heard that on the stage, right? Users love new security features? That's a new one. So one of the things that we're now in preview is the passwordless sign-in. So what the user is, they type in their email to any service that they use, either Office 365 or Windows 10, and they're prompted with a digit code, and your Authenticator app gives you 3 choices, and you need to select the right one. So what part did I leave out of this equation? They typed in their username, not their password. Authenticator did the next step for them. So all of a sudden, you are way more prone to sign into services while on travel because it's a much more efficient thing, and especially when you are on mobile devices like Android and iOS as well. A lot of companies skipped out on the Enable Authenticator app. So this is the mobile 1 tip that I'm going to give you. Enable the Authenticator app. It really gives a much better user experience. You give a much higher security to your company, and especially on mobile users where you don't have Active Directory and group policy to lock down the security that granular that you're used to. So using Azure authentication and using Azure Active Directory to sign in and protect the users is one of the first steps. How is that user experience for the end user, you say, when you come to a Windows PC? Well, let's show you. And so what you do is that you sign in on a typical PC, and you click sign in, And whenever you're prompted to give additional authentication, it says, hey, we need some more confirmation. And even inside the web browser, it utilizes my Windows Hello Cam to authenticate me. No password needed, because the device itself is trusted, but to re-authenticate for that current session, they need a second token to do that. So for Windows Hello for Business, it's currently not supported in browser like this. You'll be prompted with one of three digit tokens. But for end users, you can already see that some of the features that come from consumer world, from Xbox One and Xbox 360, is being incorporated as security functionalities in Microsoft personal accounts. And you see they're now moving the way to Microsoft Business. And the preview of passwordless in Azure Active Directory really is something that the end user in this case love. And again, love. So I've told about the user experience. So it's about the user experience, not only that. So one of the things that we stumble upon is that PCs tend to drain way too much power. And if you're doing Config Manager, you can do a full inventory on what kind of apps is on there. You could have third-party tools to do a full inventory and see what's running and what's hogging the CPU. With a built-in tool, Power CFG/Energy, you can monitor those resources. My friend over here, on Tuesday, he had a battery issue. And typical way back when, you just pull out the battery and plug it back in. Anyone done that recently? You need a screwdriver. So this could start to track and see if you're having battery issues. So we're currently doing that with my friend's laptop as we speak. So we're tracking the battery performance and see if that PC needs to be replaced. Because if there's first one incident, there's prone to be many more. So instead of nagging the user to do stuff and monitor them, you could do that as a commandlet and push that out to that specific PC and have that logged to a shared folder so that you have access to the battery reporting on that device. Or this is probably how people feel this morning after Universal Studio, right? So, or maybe it's just the 5th day at Microsoft Ignite. Everyone's exhausted and we want to go to hibernation. So whenever you have a PC and people say that it was fully charged when I went home or when I traveled away, but when I came to the airport, the battery was gone. So when doing a sleep study on modern laptops, you can see which applications that is haltering the device to go from sleep, and you can see the charge cycles. So don't take the end user's word for it. Users tend to say, I promise I charged it. I promised I put it to sleep. But something happens. And it's really important to do that for a first level troubleshooting as well. So for power configuration, you open commandlet and you type in the power CFG. It'll run for 60 seconds to trace the activity that's running on your current PC. And if you export this to a shared folder, you will have access to that even when they're gone. And if you're using heavy CPU intensity or energy consuming applications like CAD or 3D drawings, it will pop up there. What people don't tend to be taken care of is driver updates. So if you have one driver that's known to prone a bug, there might be DLL files that's haltering a thread, and you can see that a faulty driver is actually responsible for poor battery life. When you see the battery report, you both can see the amount of charge cycles. So when it's about time to replace the device just because the battery is running out of life expectancy. But you can also target and see how many hours they've actually been in an on state or in a sleep state or a connected standby state as well. So for the sleep study, the bare mode, you also get charge state. So you get a diagram to say when did you actually burn a lot of energy, and you also can see that they turned off their PC while charged as well. So you have the low system activity, moderate, so you get a colorful scheme, and you can see a very easy overlay on how your PC is performing. One other thing, people don't tend to pay attention to the brightness of their screen. Some of the newer PCs have rather small screens, but if you're still one of those CAD users and heavy users, you prefer the 15 or 70 inches ones. The users in this case does. So turning down the brightness of the screen have a huge impact on battery performance. And as a curiosity, my friend over here, you raise your hand. Yeah, there we have. What's interesting, you see his PC, this is actually from Tuesday. So on Monday, you can see that the battery was behaving quite as we should expect, but we plugged in the AC and the battery is still on 9 and 8%. There's something wrong with the battery. So while we unplugged it, we found a screwdriver and unplugged the battery, plugged it back in to reset the cycle, it overcharged by 106. So he's going to pay for the extra duty on the airport. That battery's going to be more heavy than ever. So another thing that we were really concerned about, or the customer was really concerned about, is support. Because pushing all those new functionalities to the end user is really taking a toll. If you're either a nurse, a doctor, a salesman, you don't care about the computer, you just care about the patient, the customer, or whoever is your first line business. So, anyone seen the movie Modern Days? So you see that now it's time for lunch and you get exactly 5 minutes to finish it. So what's better than force it that way? So one of the things that Windows 10 really takes care of is that mobile user experience and the support part, and it's all built in. So for 2 cases, I didn't have to travel for a 40-minute flight or an 8-hour drive because of those 2 apps. So one of them is the built-in app, Quick Assist, and is shipped on any current supported version of Windows 10. So if you still have Windows 10 that is supported, it's going to be there. This is my friend here. He needed help. So you can see he's in a current state and it says Get Assistant. On my computer, I sign in, type my Microsoft account or Microsoft Azure Active Directory account, and I sign in. I provide him with that security code, and he types that in. You could either copy it to clipboard, send it as an email, or provide instructions over the phone. He types in that PIN, which is generated every time you log into the application. I could select take full control or just view full screen just to see what's happening. And after a couple of seconds, he says, do you want Alex to remote control your PC? I wouldn't recommend having me remote control your PC. I would only recommend me to view your PC, but that's another different story. So after a couple of clicks, you're already in full control, and you can remote view the user's PC. This is not a third-party tool. It's built in Windows 10. You don't need an internal network. As long as you connect it to the web, you're good to go. The only thing you need is a currently supported version of Windows 10 and a Microsoft account or an Azure Active Directory account. The second tool that's so useful is the built-in tool called Microsoft Connect. You just type in Connect, and that makes your Windows 10 PC a Miracast client. Not a Miracast presenter, but a Miracast client. So what you're looking at now is my Android device. So I was sitting here on the PC, connecting my Android device to my Windows 10 device so that my support staff could help me see what was behaving on my Android device. And this is also you can do for demonstration purposes if you want to connect other Windows 10 devices to your current presentation mode or just for shared experiences. That's kind of cool, right? Anyone here used the Connect app? A few hands. Anyone here used the Quick Assist? A few hands. So the other thing that people were kind of scared about was that, what about life cycle management? Now the biggest problem is that what do we do whenever people need to refresh their PC? People need to refresh their PC every now and then because of odd reasons. And what do you do with the data that's on it? Everyone knows that their H drive is their preferred place of storing information, while desktop is where everything actually goes. So what we designed was that instead of having an H drive and the offline sync, because that would just be way too crude for the users in a Windows 10 environment, we uploaded every data from their H drive to OneDrive for Business. The other thing is the recently announced functionality called Download from Cloud. So if your current build on your Windows PC is corrupted, the reset functionality is halted and don't work, you can now download a fresh image from the cloud. So all of a sudden, if there's anything wrong with your current image, you can download a fresh one from the cloud. If you, for some reason, need to replace that drive, you're in the current state that you cannot download it from Windows, there's a possibility to boot it from either Windows recovery environment, if you have a stick, or if you have a UEFI support for it, you could also download from cloud as well. But then again, a lot of PCs don't have a necessary requirement, and that's an Ethernet port. So if you do it from the UEFI boot or a Windows recovery environment, you'll need a PC or a dongle that provides you Ethernet support, because it doesn't currently yet support over Wi-Fi. For a second level, when it comes to troubleshooting, we all had either family members or end users saying, there's something wrong with my PC. And you say, oh, I bet there is. There's a decom message in the event log. There's a lot of incidents here in the event log we need to look into. And there's just hundreds of entries. And everyone who's been digging into the event log and don't know what to look for, it's a pretty big mess. It's going to be a long day, I'll tell you that. So if you just open the reliability monitor, you get a timeline instead. And you can try and track down all the red dots and see if the problem that the user's reporting that's been there forever is actually been there forever, or if it's been changed in any way. So a typical problem which we could find in the Surface world was that the Surface Book 2 had an issue that it automatically disabandoned the external graphic card in the base. So what that would do is that the user didn't see what was happening. You just heard the sound of a disconnecting device, and whenever you opened a third-party tool that require third-party application that required a graphic card with better performance than the built-in Intel chip, the performance was very no good. So the problem was that you could see in the event log that this was something that would happen over a period of time, but the user would probably never notice, because you only noticed the problem when you needed that extra GPU power. So this gives you a trace, and you can see if this is something that's been happening for a while, or it's just something that happened recently after a patch or an update. Now, telling a user to open Quick Assist, telling a user to monitor or perform or log any incidents is both time-consuming for the user, but as well as the first-line support. So one of the tools that's been very well hidden and less talked about is Problem Steps Recorder. Anyone used Problem Steps Recorder? Oh, you are my heroes. So Problem Steps Recorder was released when? Anyone know? Windows Vista, that's correct, my friend. So it's been there since Windows Vista, and it's really easy to open. You simply type in PSR. So you press Windows button, PSR, and the tool is this big. So what we do is, I just want to click record, and you probably won't see everything, so I'll just drag this one over, and it really doesn't matter what I do. I click a little bit around, create a new folder, and let's stop recording. So what happens is this generates a HTML file that you could use and send to your third-party, to your first-line support. So you could actually see what the user is clicking on, where he or she is clicking, so that you know that the right measures have actually been put in place. So you can see here that I was clicking on the folder with a left click on the mouse, and in the summary of this tool, you also see the current version of the application, the Windows build, the drivers, and everything that's related to this issue. You can just tell everyone in the company to start using the PSR whenever they're having an experienced problem, save it, and send the zip file to the first-line support. And whoever can do that can monitor the error in their own comfort. So, to fall back, the entire mobile experience, we went from autopilot, from traditional deployment, we went from Quick Assist, from third-party tools. We did PSR for a whole week instead of hands-on troubleshooting, and as well, the user experience that you never hear again from a live stage, they loved the security. They loved Windows Hello. They loved the passwordless sign-in. So this was a transition that's not out in the future. We've done this. A final thing, if people forgive me, I love Bing. Way. So I'm going to show you why I love Bing. Whenever I go into a third-party, is that the right term, a third-party search tool, and I try Windows 10 Dynamic Lock. I know it's time, but I really love Bing. So you see Windows 10 Dynamic Lock, and it gives you some random answers. Maybe it's related, I don't know. Whenever I do that in Bing, it gives me a blue button here. Open sign-in option settings, and it sends you to the control panel. Now, the interesting thing, this is a unique URI, so you could run this. If you send this as a script to the PC, start with this URI, it will open this. And this goes for Windows Update, Dynamic Lock, Windows Hello, whatever you need. So if you do this, and your people say, where do I find this Windows Hello? You love Bing. Type in Windows Hello for Business. You automatically get that blue button. You get the URI, and you can splash it in their face. So because they need to interact with it themselves to activate it, but all of a sudden you have the tool to do that for them. Could I get everyone to say that? We love Bing on 3? Do I dare that? It's Friday, all right? We love Bing. All right, thank you. You made my day. So I promise you all of these videos, including Bing, on my blog. Thank you so much for paying attention. I'm Alex. Have a great rest of the Ignite.